Hello, I'm Robin and welcome back to the Molten Modular DIY corner. Today I've got a little something from Dreadbox. I have the reissued Dreadbox NYX. Now, I never played with the original, so I'm not that clued in as to exactly what it is, but I have built a lot of lovely little Dreadbox boxes over this time. I've got the Erebus and the Hades up there. I've got other ones on a shelf over there. They're just gorgeous. I love this stuff. And the format that they do it in, the little DIY kit, all of it is a fun, interesting and an engaging way to put together a little synthesizer, which then gives you an enormous amount of synthesizing pleasure afterwards. So here we are. Today I'm going to put the thing together, give it a little play and just enjoy it as a cool little Dreadbox synthesizer. Now, these kits are not difficult. They are kind of snap together, screw together type kits. There's not a lot of soldering, if any, involved, and so it shouldn't take any time at all. The NYX is, in fact, first came the chasm and then broad-breasted earth. Secure seat forever of all the immortals who occupy the peak of snowy Olympus, the misty Tartara, in a remote recess of the broad-pathed earth. And Eros, the most handsome among the immortal gods, dissolver of flesh, who overcomes the reason and purpose in the breasts of all gods and all men. Out of the chasm came Erebus and dark night. What? Don't know, it sounds fantastic. So without further ado, let's have a look. Let's get into the box first of all. I've got the manual up on screen. It seems all relatively straightforward. Hopefully this will all make perfect sense. Front panel, box of bits, sticker. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's all that's in the box. So that's very cool. They do pretty stuff. You know, really nicely laid out. Good metal front panel. Reverb seems to be the main focus of this particular synthesizer. Little patch bay, sliders and stuff. Yeah, going to get into that. But first of all, I think we should get to the box. That looks like all the knobs. Well, all sorts of stuff. I think we're probably going to have to get it all out ultimately. So I've got some knobs, I've got some washers, some screws, some standoffs, bits and pieces, handy Allen key, some sticky things for the bottom of the case. I've got the USB power little unit here, and then come on. This is the main board. As you can see, yeah, it's done for you. It's pretty much done for you. There's not a whole lot. So when they say DIY kit, they're really using the loosest possible term for that. The only real DIY we're doing is putting it in the case. But hey, if it's something that brings us closer to the instrument, if it allows us to project our heart and something of ourselves into the construction of the machine, then I'm all for it. But hopefully this won't take very long, and then we just get on with playing with the sounds, playing with the noises. That looks good to me. So let's follow the instructions. Oh heck, it's a MIDI TRS adapter. I hate these things, but I understand them to also be necessary. Now, there is a power cable here. Now, this is if you want to run it as a Eurorack module, which you can if you use it without this USB bit on the back. See here, this is going to go, essentially it's going to sit on that like so. But I'm not going to do that quite yet. But you can use this in Eurorack directly by plugging into what is going on there into here. So you plug into there, then plug it into your Eurorack power supply. To say my one here, that looks completely broken. I mean, you don't need this side of the power cable, but I don't know quite what's going on with that. I'll put that to one side. I have plenty of those. I'm not worried about that. So let's flip to the manual and just have a look to see what it's trying to tell us. So in the box we will find these things. We found these things, I think. I think we did. We got all those bits. A whole bunch of stuff in a thing and in the bag. And we're going to need an Allen key. I've got an Allen key. Might need a larger Allen key, it says. Well, I'll see what I can find. And a couple of screwdrivers, that sort of thing. So, step 1. Front panel. Add the LED lens and push them with the soft end of the screwdriver so they stick firmly in place. Interesting. Right. So, let's put these bits to the side for the moment. We're talking about this thing here, the front panel. And we're talking about LED lenses, which are these little tiny things. Let's bring you in so we can see these little tiny sort of glass pins almost, although I think they are plastic. So these I think are to go into little holes here, but let's have a closer look. Yeah. So how many do I have? 1. Don't run away now. 2, 3. On here I've got a hold, possibly only 2 on the front panel itself. It's going to go back up a second. 3 LED lenses. Okay, I do have 3. So on the front panel, add the LED lens and push them with the soft end of the screwdriver so stick firmly in place. Then add the 5 spacers with the screws as shown. So these, I think you can see that there's one end which is slightly, it's got a slight raised bit on it, so that I think is going to be sticking out. So from what I can see, these are going into these 2 hold bits here, and I'll see if I can find another one in a minute, but let's just put that in. Now it says you're supposed to push it in with the bad end of a screwdriver. Oh, there's a sink one there, I can see it. But that just seems to go in almost completely, so there needs to be a last little bit that we do. So this one here, so it goes there, and then there's one, so there's 2 holds and 1 under sink, like that. Let's see if I can do what they're suggesting. Got something relatively soft here I'm going to use just to lean into it. I'm going to make this secure. Then I'm going to push that in. Okay. Push that in. Alright. Push that in. Now obviously you don't want to break it off underneath. You have to be very careful. So those are poking through like that. I believe that's what's required. Cool, just be aware of it, because if you put this down and then lean on it, you're going to crunch those. That would be bad. However, we do need to put in the 5 screws. Now, as far as I can see, it's 1 here, 1 there, 2 there. That seems to be what they're talking about. And it was saying that it's the 5 times 10 mil spacers and 5 M3 screws. So turn that over, put it down, be careful. Let's see if I can find the right bits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's check them all for size. There's some bigger, some smaller. Those are 2 larger ones. 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are 2 smaller ones. I've got a third small. Oh, another smaller one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 smaller ones. Thank you, Cockerel. So countersunk screws are going to be the M3 ones. Should be 5 of those. I think these ones are what we're talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've got what does it say? There should be 6 metal spaces which are 10mm long, 2 which are 12, and 2 plastic ones which are 11. So I think that this is our situation, and we're going to be using, I think, 5 of these for the front panel and screwing those in. So 5 of the 10mm ones and 5 of the M3 black screws as shown, which is the countersunk ones and the silver ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it. Are we with it, do we think? Let's have a look at that manual just a little bit closer. So you can see on this picture here where they are. So if you get your panel back, what we're doing is putting a screw through the front and screwing on the spacer underneath. So the way you can do it however you like, right? So I'm just going to drop a screw in there and a screw in there. Put my finger on it, take one of my risers, kind of see if I can just get that to bite like that. Now that is the wrong one. I've picked up the wrong one. I picked up one of the larger ones. I'm just going to take that off, put those out of the way, pick up a smaller one. There we go. No harm done. Come on now. There we go. So finger tight for the moment. We'll worry about the tightness later on. So this one, I've got my finger on it. It's coming through. Just going to screw it on like that. Yeah, that's those 2. Now there's 2 on the other. Well, there was one there, one there, one there, one there. So let's do this one. One there. And there. Right, so I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these risers on. I've now got the little sticky out LED glass bits. It's a good one. Step 2. I think that was more than one step, I have to say. But hey, let's go with it. So on the top PCB, move the second slider to the right. What? Okay, hang on. Let's put that to one side for the moment. Bring this in. We're looking at this way up. On the top PCB, above the second slider to the right. Second slider to the right. Add a brass screw through the front side and secure it with a 10mm spacer on the bottom side. Now I don't have anything that's brass coloured particularly. These are all silvery, but that doesn't mean they're not brass, as I've come to learn. So let's see if it gives us a bit more information. Yeah, it's the big chunky, right? Big chunky, these ones here. So the large 11mm one, did it say, or was it a 10mm one? No, it's another 10mm spacer, so it's the one that we haven't used. So this one here that we haven't used yet. And one of these big fat screws, so it seems, and a washer. Got all of that? That seems to be what we're trying to attempt at this point. Right. So on here, it's this hole here. So this is the second slider from the right. Drops in that hole successfully. Get your finger on it, turn it over. Right, a washer. Now I've got a washer here. This is a little tiny one, like a split one, which I think is going to be the right one. It seems to be like that in the manual. Now what I can't do is I can't currently see it because this PCB is in the way. So that's awesome. So I think we're going to have to take this off. So you can see how it's attached via these various headers here and here. But if you just rock it gently and apply a little bit of a little bit of force, it should start to come apart like that. Alright, put that to one side for the minute. So now I can access my screw, put on my little split ring thing, use the smaller standoff, put that on. Now it said something about make sure it's tight enough to straighten the washer, so you might need a screwdriver at this point. I seem to have lost a correctly sized screwdriver for this sort of thing. No, that'll work. So with this, I'm just going to put a screwdriver on this side, hold it with my fingers on this one, and just do it up until that washer is essentially flat. That looks good enough to me. Good, right, lovely. Next, so insert the top PCB, which is this one, to the panel. It needs some pressure and alignment of the switches, and you'll need the plastic spacers to be screwed into the top corners, into the 3 bottom holes, all on the other side of the PCB attached to a pen from the right. So it looks like this doesn't seem right that this would go on first, but that seems to be what they're saying, so we're going to follow it through. Right, so these two line up like this, and this sits on the top. Now what you're going to find is that it needs a little bit of a wiggle to get through everything. Usually the switches cause the most trouble. Oh, if you just apply a little bit of pressure, that seems to help. Okay, it's still holding on something. There we go. So just poke at those switches and it should get you through. Just keep giving it a little bit of pressure, giving it a wobble, and you should get it nice and flat. Good. Right, so that's in. So then it says about there's a couple of nuts it was talking about. Now where do they go? It's got 4 nuts there. So these have to go in here. Got that there. There's 2 there. Oh, okay. So what's happened is that these are marrying up with those bits we put on earlier. You see that there's the spacer in there. And so these ones, they've got one that's going to go into this corner. That just screws in. Should just screw in. Another one at this side. Screws in. And then you've got a couple of screws to go here. Now these are these big silver screws again. One in there. One in there. Okay. That looks to me like the picture. 2 there, 2 there. That seems to be all in. Yeah, would you agree? I think so. Right, next step. Step 4. On the bottom PCB, right, put this to one side. Bring in the bottom PCB, this one here. Screw the 2x12 metal spacers and 2 more brass screws as shown. They will serve as the power supply base. Right, so this seems to be around these. I'll turn this over. This is the power supply. So the screws look like they go through from the trimmer side. So you've got 2 holes here. One, oh, missed completely. Two, all right, 2 fingers there. It's 1 riser. The next riser. Super. Now if you're using this as a UARAC module, this bit actually you don't need to do because this is about securing this USB powering bit. But we're just going to assume that I'm going to be putting it in the box. Step 5, connect the bottom PCB to the top and then fix them with screws as shown. So now we're going to put this back on. So these headers are going to match up with the pins here. And you just need to stick it on, and it's going to line up here and here as well. So we just line them up and rock them together. A little bit of a push. It's all good. Underneath there's a screw here and a screw there. Lovely. Attach the power board and secure with a couple of other screws. So this is our power board. It just plops into that socket, just like that, so that the USB is sticking out the side. Oh dear. I say that, but then this doesn't line up remotely. Hang on, have I got this? I must have this backwards or something. No. All right, let's make sure that's going in right. That's better. So it looks like it's completely possible to insert this, because this is a little bit smaller than the socket, to get that wrong so that it's offset slightly. So just be wary of that. Be careful. Make sure it goes in centrally, and you'll know because these screw holes will line up. So that looks good. I'll stick these in. Two. Right, now we're shifting over to the enclosure. I've got a little something in there. Oh, that's part of the power. My power cable that was slightly broken. Don't worry about that. It's just a nicely folded piece of metal. There's no like inputs or outputs here because it's all on the front panel. Just got the USB socket hole there. So it wants me to put on the adhesive feet. Oops, now that's these things here. They just go in on the corners. It's not hard, right? It's not hard. I have agonized over these sorts of things in the past, trying to get them absolutely exactly where they should be. But honestly, life's too short. You just stick them in the corners and they are sweet. Ta-da! Beautiful. Not less clangy now. Place the unit in the enclosure. To easily achieve this, place the unit with the USB side first and then push down the rest. So USB is over here. I'm going to whip this round. So USB is now there. There's my socket. I'm going to go like that. And then it should, with a little bit of a scrape, drop in. Look at that. It's looking neat. It's looking neat. Yeah, see, it's coming through the hole. Lovely. Now there's another 4 screws. These are the kind of annoying Allen key ones. I don't know why they have to have Allen key heads. Dreadbox does this all the time. It just makes it more difficult to take it apart because you have to hang on to that. So these go in the corners and you should have a little Allen key that comes with it to help you put that in. I mean, you could always use knurlies or something else just to make it slightly less annoying. I might even do that. Oh, come on, give it a go. Give it a go. I'm not getting this to work very well. Okay, that's in. That corner. that corner. Good, lovely. That's all in. Step 10. Screw in the pots and rotary switches. Rotary switches. What? Oh, I guess some of these are rotary switches. We shall see. Taking care that the rotary switches should not be over tightened but not too loose. The M10 nuts are for the rotary switches, the M8s for the pots. Must mean there are two different sizes. We didn't really look into that. Oh, right, so there's what? Alright, let's get ourselves in order. So there's a big one, big one, big one, big one, big one, little ones. That's a big one. Sort it out, sort it out. So 3 big ones. Let's bring that in so you can see it. 2, 3. And then little ones. Might have one extra. Don't know. Big ones and little ones. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5, 6. There we go. Found it. Found it. Panic over. Good. So which is who? Whom is what? Okay. That's a rotary switch. That one there. I think the ones with the slots in the top. Yeah. So the ones with the slots in the top. So that means the routing switches and the cutoff mode or mod route there. Those are the bigger ones. So let's do those first. Big one. Big one. Can't pick it up. Big one. Just going to do them finger tight. I don't really have anything clever with which to tighten them. Maybe a pair of pliers or something, but I'm a little bit nervous of scratching the faceplate. So I'm just going to go with finger tight. So that's the 3 rotary switches. The rest are for the knobs. Cut off. Looking fine. Looking fine. All good. Number 11. Screw the knobs to the pots and rotary switches as shown. Right. So this is all this business. Now these, I believe, have little tiny screws in the side on those and these ones. So that's how they're secured onto the Watsits. Does that make sense? Onto the Watsits, that's how they go. Now that does mean that they can be placed at any sort of angle, any sort of rotation. So you need a little tiny flathead screwdriver, a bit like this. This is used for trimmers, actually. But if you look underneath, you'll see that the screw is pretty much all the way in. So you're going to need to, if that's going to fit. Oh, it feels like it's going to fit. I can undo that. So this is one of the smaller knobs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them all the way around as far as they go to the left. And with a bit of luck, I can sort of put them all in together. Well, what I'm going to need is I'm going to need the screw to go up against the flat side, I think. Yeah, it doesn't really tell you that. So I think the flat side of the pots, I want the screw to go up against. So in that case, going them all the way around to the left is about right, and that puts it over there. So I'm just going to find how I do it up. And with a bit of luck, that flat part of it should help that work. See, that's pretty good. You see how that all goes from left to right? Nice. Let's do the next one. And I'll do the rotary ones in a minute. So I want a big one on the filter. This is a little bit trickier. Okay, so I'm not going to get that. I'm not going to be able to do it because it's interrupting my screwdriver, so I'm going to move that so it's this way and screw it in that way. Hopefully that will still work. Yeah, good. Good. What else have I got? This one here. Now that one feels like it's dragging just a little bit on the front panel, so in which case I'm going to undo it just a little bit and just rise it up a tiny little bit. No, it's still dragging. That one isn't. That one is. Try that again. Better, better, better. One over here. Right, I'm left with these three here, which are the rotaries. Now they don't have a pointy bit to know where I should do it. So what do I do with that then? So if I... God, they're tricky to turn by themselves. I need a flathead screwdriver, really. So let's turn these. So it's pointing at the bottom one, pointing at the bottom one. So that's supposed to be pointing at that one. So if I do that up there, good. So hold it where you want it to be. That's a little bit off. Better. One more is there here. Am I going to be able to get through to that? No, maybe not. So I'm going to turn that to face to the top, like that. Get to it from a slightly different angle. There seems to be, oh hang on, single, dual, split, odd. Okay, I thought there was only 3 lines. There are 4 settings. Just a matter of getting that right. Okay, that seems to be all the knobs on. So I think we're there. Now, as far as I can tell, it didn't come with a USB cable. I mean, is that a terrible thing? No. I mean, you'd just kind of expect it, really. But, I mean, I've got tons of USB cables knocking around, so that's not a major deal. Let's see, I've got a nice blue Novation one sitting here from something. I happen to have a hub over here I'm going to plug into, and then I'll just plug it in to see if any LEDs come on. Right. Look at that. Look at that. Getting something. Oh, LFO something there. Oh, another modulator flashing away. What was the other one? And one here, mod 2. Yep, 3 LEDs. We're rocking. So what I'll do is I'll adjust the cameras a little bit, bring it in a bit closer so we can have a look, wire up some sound, see if we can get some sound out and start having a little bit of a fiddle with the NYX. the NYX analog synthesizer. Here we go then. I've plugged the output into here. I've got no other effects on or anything, it's just going straight through. MIDI it seems to want through here, so I've plugged in my MIDI keyboard. I'm just running an arpeggiation through it. Let's see what that sounds like. Seems to be working completely fine as far as I can see. Not that there was really any doubt, because you're just kind of screwing the box together. So of course it works. So a quick whistle stop tour of the NYX then. You've got two oscillators. You've actually got two filters in here which you can offset from each other. A VCA, a whacking great big lovely sounding digital reverb, and some modulations. It's really that simple. There's some interesting routings you can do both with the modulation. You've got some modulators here, and with how the VCOs, the oscillators, route to the filter and how the filter deals with those, which are definitely worth investigating. Seems to respond really well to MIDI. I mean, there's a gate input, I suppose, I think. There's probably a pitch one too, but I'm not entirely sure about that, so I'm just going to focus on the MIDI side. The reverb is extraordinary. Probably also needs a bit of a delay. I'll work something like that into it at some point. But it's got a really nice, very satisfying sound. And a lot of that I think is the two oscillators running together. So if I take the filter off for the minute, just focus on the oscillators, bring the reverb down a little bit. So oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, you've got some octave switches. They are related to each other at all times, but you can detune oscillator 2 from oscillator 1 if you have the detune all the way down. They stay together in tune and you can tune them together. You can kind of like use one as a sub bass, as a sub oscillator to some degree. When they're out of sync like now, you push up detune and it pushes the two oscillators away from each other. You can tune them to different things if you so wish. Just to give you a little bit of sort of juiciness, or to set them apart entirely. Oscillator 1 can be a square, or it can be a sawtooth. I take oscillator 2 out for the moment. So just a sawtooth, or a square with pulse width. And then you bring oscillator 2 back in, which can also be a saw or a triangle. Can also be duophonic, so you can play them separately, two notes. So I'm holding oscillator 1, getting oscillator 2, playing up here. Like so. I have them always together. You can put it into sync, so oscillator 2 hard syncs to oscillator 1. Which gives you a different sound to that detuning. Which is nice. There's also a vibrato built in, which I think is a lovely feature. Rather than having to use or route or patch an LFO somewhere else just to do this little thing there, it has that all ready to go built in. To extremes, if you so wish. Gives it that sort of vintagey, organy kind of sound. It's also glide. Particularly good if you put it in sync mode, put glide onto the second oscillator. Really nice. Okay, into the filter then, 2 filters. In single mode, I think everything's going through the filters together. And then you can use this post here to offset the 2 filters. And you can use modulator 1 to control the filter in single mode. I'm in single mode now. Put it in dual mode, you can also use modulator 2 to control one filter while mod 1 is controlling the other filter. And they can either be envelopes or LFOs on the switch. And then finally you've got a VCA which has a simple rise and fall as well, which can either be held for the long of the gate or just be triggered, and then you control the decay with the fall here, put hold in and you're doing a sort of a release, if that makes sense. Or it could be an LFO, so it just does its own thing. Reverb again. And then of course you've got a patch bay with which you can do stuff. I'm not entirely sure what. All sorts of things. Do have a noise generator. Trying I don't know what to do with. There we go. In one, there we go. So there you go, the Dreadbox NYX. It's a lovely sounding thing. Fits perfectly with his little friends, the Erebus and the Hades. I think I'm feeling like I need to pull them together into a little bit of a jam to see how that feels. Maybe include the fabulous Scrooge I've got bubbling away over there. That might make for an interesting little evening's play. But otherwise, you've got a very cool little dual oscillator analog synthesizer. Sounds just sumptuously gorgeous, particularly that reverb, which of course covers up a multitude of synths, but it's a fabulous sound that emanates from it. I love the focus on the detuning between the oscillators. I love the fact that you can pull them apart to do some duophonic stuff. I love the vibrato. Everything should have a vibrato built in, I think. That just gives it that chewiness and that sound from the past, which is somehow unmistakable, but yet here within our very presence. I like that. I like that a lot. The dual filter, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing with that 100% because I have very simple filtering needs. When I have two filters and I'm trying to do funny things, I'm basically just pushing them around to see what happens, not really knowing what it is I'm trying to do with that. And I always end up kind of going, I don't know that either. I'm just going to keep twiddling and keep moving until I get that kind of sound that I kind of like. But also, when you start pushing it into some longer bits, it can become very epic. Fantastic. Dreadbox NYX. Fabulous little box of stuff. Hope that was helpful. In the meantime, go and make some tunes.